Hey, thank you for listening to another episode of the Business of Fun podcast. I'm Dave. I'm your host. My guest today, Jonathan Allen. Jonathan has a new business called TKT, and we're going to be talking about technology, open distribution, and a lot of things as they relate to Europe and the UK. So good conversation coming up with Jonathan Allen. Before we get to Jonathan, though, a few things to point you towards. Number one, if you're listening to this and you don't know, I do a newsletter. It's called Talking Tickets. It's all about marketing and selling tickets. We cover Australia, New Zealand, Asia. We hit the whole world. My belief is that selling tickets is a process and that you can learn a lot from selling and marketing anything. So that's talkingtickets.substack.com. You can visit my website. It's davewakeman.com, and there's all kinds of stuff. There's a blog, there's calendar, events, all kinds of great stuff on that website. That's www.davewakeman.com. You can also get the Business of Value, which is my strategy newsletter, where I put a lot of the stuff I'm doing for this strategy course I'm building called Markets and Competition, by visiting the Business of Value website, businessofvalue.substack.com. Boom. All right, so anyway, back to Jonathan Allen. So Jonathan Allen with TKT has a long history in the secondary market here in the United States. And I wanted to have Jonathan on because he brought this new idea that he had been working on to me a few weeks back. And I found it a little bit interesting than most of them because his point of view on approaching the secondary or bringing secondary market tools and resources and ideas to the UK was a little bit more thoughtful than some of the other ones that I've heard of in the past. And just because I'm trying to do a good job for you, I came at it from a little bit of a point of skepticism. So I actually polled a few people, got a few questions that I worked into the conversation. But we talk about what it means to come to a new market and how you have to adapt to the market you're in. We talk about some of the benefits of this open distribution technology, the tech tool that Jonathan and his team are bringing to Europe. We talk about data, and we really talk about how you can actually make data useful and how some of the promises of open data haven't met the expectations of partners, and how giving people the data that they need to make better decisions can be valuable for everybody. We talk about experiential aspects. We talk about where you can find new clients, about raising brand awareness. We talk about how to protect your brand value. We talk about pricing. We talk about premium inventory management. We talk about reaching audiences outside of your home market. I know that a lot of people might approach this and go, I'm not open to this idea, but I think this is a conversation that you'll learn something from, and it should give you something that I believe may at least make you think about the way that you're selling your tickets a little bit differently. So here's my conversation with Jonathan Allen from TKT on the Business of Fun podcast. All right, Jon Allen, thanks for being on the Business of Fun. What's up, man?
How the hell are you, Dave? How you been?
Oh, man, I am hanging in there. I told you my wife's out of town, and me and the teenager are rocking and rolling, and he is driving me up a wall. But other than that, we are great.
Don't let him hurt you. Just, I know how those youngsters could be. So.
Oh, he's actually really good. Like he's not as much of a pain in the ass as I like to pretend he is most of the time. But thank you for doing this because I wanted to talk to you about TKT, which is your new business. I'm new to this. I do know. I'm going to pretend I don't know exactly what you're talking about. So make your pitch to me. Tell me what TKT is.
For years, I've been operating on the domestic side in the ticket resale industry, primarily with official deals. So teams, leagues, venues would give us inventory to distribute across multiple platforms, giving them the ability to share revenues and understand who is in their building. A few years back, a friend of mine went to London and we're like, oh, let's go. We're actually headed over here for a conference, and we're like, let's go to see a football game. So we pick up our phone and we're searching and we're looking and we're like, geez, I don't know where to get tickets. It's not like the U.S. This is crazy. Long and long of it is, we had to resort to calling one of our friends in the industry, what they call a ticket tout over there, and he provided us with official hospitality inventory. I'm like, wow, this is great. I go in, there's a buffet, I get a sandwich, I get a beer, and then I walk out and I sit down in the great seats. I'm like, why the hell couldn't I have gotten this through my existing channels? So that got my mind spinning, and I'm like, damn, there's a lot of opportunity here. Due to COVID, they transitioned, as antiquated as they were, from hard stock over to digital, which made this even more amenable. So I started thinking about it and started talking to some players over there and applied a similar way we did it in the US to over there with some tweaks to comply with their GDPR and any other compliance issues by not just offering a ticket for resale plus price, but offering an experience in conjunction with the ticket. And it went over like incredibly well. I mean, it didn't hurt that our first big act was this unknown artist called Taylor Swift. But it was a enlightening experience, and that started to broaden our horizons to expand more on it.
Yeah. So this is relatively a new idea in Europe, right? I mean, the secondary market's been there. I think most people's experience with the secondary market in Europe is through Viagogo. What they do, I'm not here to debate whether or not I can find it ethical or unethical, right or wrong. That ain't my gig. I just know that people have had a bad experience with Viagogo. They don't feel favorably about the business. Now, you have come over with a tech forward idea with some transparency, with like a new approach to this. Have you met, are people embracing this? Are they reluctant? Is it a little bit of a mix? Because going in and trying anything new is hard because, that's a long way to get to that because, it can be challenging to get people to try something new. How are you finding that? And why is this new approach helpful?
So 3 years ago, they looked at me like I had three eyes on my face, right? They're like, what is this kid talking about? Viagogo's the devil. They operate in the shadows. It's like some guy in the corner with a trench coat saying, hey, I got some tickets. Psst, come over here. When I started to explain to him how, no. We show you everything. You know who's going to be in your building. You know what the tickets sold for. You know what marketplaces they were on or not on. We gave them back the power, right? So we enabled them to be able to not only know everything about where the ticket transferred to, but also to share in the revenues. Because why not? Why shouldn't they be getting revenues from tickets that are selling in their building? So it took me a while. I had to really educate a lot of people and explain it. But look, it wasn't exactly the same as it was in the US. I took on some partners that had some real, kind of like a unicorn on this side of the pond, where they had some real experience in the concierge white glove treatment that they applied to this model, which gave the end users more of an experience, not just an overpriced ticket to the show, which now is more understandable because over there was a long-standing way of doing things with hospitality. Like as long as it was hospitality, they understood the value. Without the hospitality, they didn't understand the intrinsic value of being able to offer their product to multiple people through multiple platforms. Now they're getting it. And most recently, I did some studies on just the resale market over in UK. Last year, I think it was like $5.5 billion. When you start showing that to some of the rights holders over there, they scratch their head and say, wait a minute, how could $5.5 billion worth of ticket transactions never make a dollar to my bottom line?
Yeah.
So that started opening up their eyes as well. So it was a combination of, look, this is how you do it. so that everybody is in line. Cut down on customer service issues because now you see under the hood. So you don't have people showing up at the box office saying, hey, I bought my tickets off of XYZ. Where are they? And in the box office, they say, I don't have any record of XYZ selling tickets, so I can't help you. Now they say, oh, I bought my tickets off of your preferred partner. They have transparency into that transaction. They can now facilitate any type of issues that may come up. But that's one of the things that TKT does as well. So we kind of sit in the middle for these specific offerings to help address any potential issues like, oh, I can't find my tickets on my phone. Can you help me find my tickets on my phone? I've never done this before. Usually they just mail me a set of tickets and I have them in my hand. Or, the email I gave you was the wrong one. Can I give you the right email? Can you retransfer those tickets? This way it mitigates a lot of the headache that the box office deal with now via these companies like, no pun intended, Viagogo, right? Where they're selling billions of dollars worth of tickets, and the teams, leagues, and venues have no clue. They don't know where the tickets are going and who's getting them.
Yeah. And then the way the law is, or maybe it's not the way the law is set up, but the way it operates is, you can be, they don't shut down the website in the UK, so they could be, in the Middle East somewhere, they could be in Asia somewhere selling you the ticket. And so there's no recourse. So there's no relationship, which brings me back to this idea of, part of the benefit that I think you are, you want to bring to people is the technology you use. And I'm far from a technologist, right? I'm old school. I know people. I have a tech department to help me when these things go on. But what do you mean by the tech that you use being a benefit, and how does that help the people? Because I know that there are a number of issues that when we're talking about these premium hospitality, kind of executive level tickets, are issues. So like finding new markets, reaching a larger audience. You mentioned distribution, so what is why is the tech a benefit, and like, what does that mean for somebody listening?
So the tech provides full transparency, and in some cases we will integrate directly with the primary. So if there's a primary that is amenable to working with us and their client, they'll allow us to integrate via API access, which means there is a seamless integration from when that ticket's sold to when the person gets the inventory. So it comes essentially from the primary through us to the customer. So there is no gaps in where that ticket went. The other part of it is the distribution. So obviously in the US, there's massive distribution. I mean, StubHub, who, interestingly enough, Viagogo bought. That's how much money they made. SeatGeek, TickPick, Game Time, so on and so forth. There's multiple distribution channels over here. In Europe, I found it was a little bit different. Viagogo kind of is the 800-pound gorilla, but there's multiple distribution channels with OTAs, hospitality groups, even some marketplaces, emerging marketplaces, that inventory from the box office is only making it to those distribution centers via ticket touts, which brings us back to its original problem. They don't know what's going on. So by allowing us to distribute the tickets on their behalf through direct integration, right, not only does it allow that to be a seamless process to the end user, but it also gives the box office teams, leagues, venues transparency into where the tickets were sold. And contrary to a lot of the beliefs like, they hate the secondary marketplaces. Why would you hate a marketplace that is spending good money to market your product, so that is less of a time suck for you, less of a infrastructure suck, right? You don't have to worry about them spending dollars and pounds, euros, marketing those tickets when you have a third party doing it, right? So it's a win-win.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this because, and this is good because I don't know the answer to this. So this one I am completely in the blind on. When you talk about the distribution points, right, the multiple areas of distribution, and then you talk about like how some of these partners that the on the primary side in Europe and in the UK operate. Are you able to partner with the existing people to help them distribute their tickets? Because one of the challenges I've seen over the years is, like you said, they might have 10 different partners that they're selling primary market tickets through, right, for a football game or a show. A lot of them, the primary point of purchase can't figure out how to distribute very well. Are you taking that inventory from those points of distribution, or are you also helping those people? Because
We
if
help
not,
those.
you would have a hard. I think people would that would cause people to like kind of push back against you.
Yeah, again, so this is the other win, right? Like we are partnering with them, so we are helping them. The idea is to assist them, not to cause more friction, right? The more frictionless I make this process, the better it is for everybody. Less customer service issues, more information to the box office teams, league, and venue to help facilitate any type of potential issues that may come up with a customer. Like, there's nothing worse when you go to an event and you have an issue that can't be resolved, and you're sitting outside of your favorite football match, right? Saying, Jesus, I'm missing the game. How do I get in? I can't get in. This is the worst experience of my life. I'm never coming back there. So the idea is don't push back, help, right? And a big part of this is like, we're not, to your point, we're not cannibalizing the existing, right? Because I want to make that very clear. Like the idea is there's only so many asses for that seat in their immediate ecosystem, right? We're facilitating distribution outside of their ecosystem. So a big part of what you said, case in point, that big show that we discussed where we sold thousands of tickets, not one client, I could say with relative confidence that 99.9% of the inventory we sold was outside the country, which is mind blowing. Because if you look at that now, they just captured thousands of new clients that they probably never would have hit because they're not distributing to these channels that are offering those tickets to these people outside of their ecosystem.
Sure. Now, a question I know that people are going to ask me, and I say this because they've already asked me when I was asking a couple people like what questions they want me to ask. So I've pre-asked this question. Uh, is this going to work outside of something like this? You know, you said Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift. Is this going to work for other events? Because there's
Oh,
have been, historically there have been secondary partners throughout Europe. Um, a lot of them, especially, I've seen several football clubs, Spain, some in the UK, that haven't worked very well when they've tried this. So how is this different? Because people, that is a question that somebody asked me.
all right. Well, this is a little trade secret, so you have to keep it between us. But
And
there's
everybody
actually
that'll listen to this thing.
Actually, there's a couple different models. Like, not every show is Taylor Swift, right?
Yeah.
But there still is a subset of clients that are traveling across the pond, as they call it over there, on holiday, right? Those folks, they're going to spend more money, even though it may not be a sold out show or a big match. They just look. They're on vacation. They want the best seats, the best location. They don't want the headache of trying to
Yeah.
sift through getting that inventory. So that's one part of it. Then we have really two different models we're talking about with TKT. We have what they call open distribution. So it's something we gleaned over here with Major League Baseball, where and I'm sure you're aware of it, Dave. I'm sure you've been to some of the games. I think there was a playoff game this year where the tickets were on the secondary market for $11,
Oh yeah.
right? No team, league, or venue wants to water down their brand with $11 tickets. So a lot of these companies, teams, leagues, and venues will say, look, We know these tickets are trading for $11, but we don't want to put them on our primary to compete with those. We know you have outside distribution sources like affiliates, like
Hmm.
other partners that you could offer that ticket without destroying our floor, right? So, in open distribution also provides additional, no pun intended, distribution for distressed inventory or inventory that's currently on the primary, but not making it to the secondary outside of what the ticket touts do, which they call speculation or arbitrage, which again, nobody likes because they don't know where those tickets are trading. They don't know who's using the tickets, and they're not getting any of their revenues that are derived from those sales. The part that we were talking about earlier with the big shows, that's more of a premium inventory management to where you have a sold out event where they're missing a large portion of the revenues because they're not receiving the uplift on that inventory. So I know that was a long winded way of answering your question. It depends upon what
That's the
type of,
beauty of the podcast.
yeah, it depends upon what type of product they're looking for, what type of inventory they're moving. But yeah, that I mean, so there's different models for different aspects of the industry.
And so one of the keys then, because this is something that I spend a lot of time with people on about this, is like finding new audience, reach, right? We call it awareness, we call it reach, whatever it is. So that's a big part of the core idea here is that you're helping people really elevate their brand awareness. If I'm using like my business school class terminology, I figure everybody deserves at least one smart term every podcast. So that was it, brand awareness. Um, so my question about that is, if you have distribution, you have the ability to expand the awareness, and you're controlling for the price floors. Um, why? How do I want to ask this? This because I guess where I'll ask it in a way that I go around it a little bit. It's because there's still going to be people who are going to go, but I don't trust you. Right? I don't trust that you're going to be able to do these things. You're not going. Something doesn't smell right, right? Because there's just a long history of distrust in the industry. I mean, it is true everywhere. I think it is. It's because largely it's been easy, with paper stock tickets, to be have some fraud or have some questionable activities. But when you talk about distribution, reaching new markets, maintaining price integrity, all of these things, that sounds too good to be true for a lot of people. And so that's what people are going to throw back at me. Because again, these are questions that people have asked me when I reached out, when I was like, what should I ask? How do you combat that? Like, how do you talk people through this? Because it does sound like a great offer, right? So then they're like, oh, something must not be right.
Well, that's the beauty of technology, right? Data doesn't lie. So by allowing them full transparency to look under the hood, they now see everything. So there is no funny business. There's no backdoor shenanigans, right? So they have a dashboard or they're getting reporting real time that are showing them where the sales are, how much they're going for, where the tickets are being distributed to. And then it also empowers them to say, hey, look, I don't want my seats, here. Let's make sure we uncheck that distribution model. And, just to be completely clear here, the distribution is always an ongoing process. Every day, somebody is coming up with some different mousetrap. Like at the conference I was just at, there was a company that actually integrated to the mobile apps of the teams, leagues, and venues that would alert somebody at the game that, hey, a score just happened or something in the game happened. And oh, by the way, this person's jersey's for sale, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure that's going to translate to, Oh, the team just won. Would you like to get ahead of the line and buy some playoff tickets for the next round?
Yeah.
So there's always something out there you, as a box office, as a team, as a league, you can't focus on that. You have your entire operations going on with making sure that everything is running smoothly. And you don't want to allocate resources to do that, right? But that's why we exist, right? We're always using technology, always looking for more distribution, always looking to make it more frictionless. Because look, at the end of the day, I keep talking about the benefits to the team, league, and venue. There is a massive benefit to the person going to the event. Because I mean, I'm sure you've run into it, right? There's some sort of hiccup. I mean, you and I probably went to about a million freaking shows, so I'm sure it's happened to us
Even
more
I've had
often than not.
hiccups. Yes, it's true.
Right,
It's totally
right.
true.
Oh, my barcode didn't scan. I can't get into the show. Or, it looked like somebody used the ticket before or something. You know what I mean? That is a problem because it causes not only a bad experience to the event goer, excuse me, but it also causes issues at the box office
Mhm.
or the venue because they don't want to deal with that. They have 20,000 people in their venue, right? They got to worry about some old bald-headed guy that can't figure out how to use his phone to get into the venue. You know what I mean?
And then they
That
look at
was
you and they go,
directed at
Dave,
you, by the way.
you're supposed to be know what you're doing here, and you're the one at the window. And I'm like, going, well, even I like to do things like the way regular people do.
Right, right.
So stop me if I'm wrong. Then, so there's two parts of the business, right? There's distribution, and then there's the experiential aspect, right? And the distribution thing, again, these are my words, and I'm trying to make sure I have it all right. The distribution idea is probably pretty cool for somebody because innovation is always happening. As a team, you have a limited number, or an organization, especially like some of these arts organizations and some of the theaters, but the teams too. Yeah, the innovation is always happening. Can be kind of challenging to keep up with it because you could have an entire team dedicated to just acting as surveying new solutions, right? And they may never get anything done except for that. So part of the way the distribution works, and one of the value adds, is like you can be a clearinghouse for some of these new ideas to help make sure that the way that they engage with and reach the audience stays relevant, frictionless, and useful, right? So part of it's like you're helping curate new ideas. Would that be accurate?
Yes, and that's why I brought in partners that, we like to call them unicorns in the business because it was really like a old school methodology of
Yeah.
bringing more to the table than just the tickets. So my partners have had a long standing business where they curated more of an experience than just a high price ticket. So we actually help build these experiences with the venue. And, one thing I learned over in Europe at my last conference was all the venues, it seems, all seem to be on the same page of they want their clients to have an experience from the guy that gets a GA to the person that sits in the VIP suites, whether that be pre-cocktail party prior to the event or special entrance and exit to the venue or as much as like a meet and greet after the show with a picture of the artist and a signature or the players, right?
Mhm.
So that is the biggest hurdle of doing what um, we do over here versus what they do over there. So I'm not going to say smart enough. I was probably had enough failures to understand I don't know everything. So I leaned on the expertise of my partners, and
Mhm.
they're fantastic, right? Like for a couple of the shows on the low level side, we put together some um, really nice pre-conference cocktail hours to on high level as like travel, lodging, a suite, after show experiences that were tremendous. And it was something that the venue worked with us on, but did not have to curate themselves, which they were thrilled, right? They're like, oh, wow. So you not only did you give me a new customer, but you set them up with an experience that they're never going to forget. Now they love my freaking venue. They're going to come back again when they go on vacation. And I just captured a new client.
About arbitrage. We talked about trade secrets. We talked about the experience. We talked about the distribution and being a great partner. We talked about raising awareness. We've talked about kind of the intricacies of the market. What it sounds like you're describing to me is that the UK and Europe a little bit is like Florida, where you have to we're in Florida where you have to have a bus or some kind of hospitality aspect of it. So that should be a selling point. Everybody loves Miami over there. So that's great. Let's plug. Where can people find you, Jon?
You can go to tkt.com, or you could reach me directly at Jonathan, Jonathan, at tkt.com.
Perfect, man. Well, thank you for doing this.
All right, are we done?
Yeah, now we are. Yeah, I just have to stop recording.
Okay, let me know what you thought of my conversation with Jon Allen by sending me an email. It is my name, Dave, at davewakeman.com. Remember, if you're new here, or if you don't already get the Talking Tickets newsletter, you should probably be getting it, and you can find that at talkingtickets.substack.com. Visit the website, davewakeman.com, blog, some newsletters, there's a calendar usually there, there's a store, all kinds of great stuff. You can find everything you need to know. All kinds of resources and good stuff there. That's davewakeman.com. Make sure, do me a favor, if you heard something here that you think a friend or colleague needs to know, share this episode with them. We're 32 minutes into this sucker. I know you dig it. I know you found something valuable in it, so do me a favor and share it. Hit subscribe, rate and review the podcast. All of these actions help me continue to grow the Business of Fun podcast, reach more people, get great guests like Jonathan, like Dr. Persuasion, all of these people, right? So do me that favor. And as always, thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. I couldn't do this thing without you. So until next time, take it easy. I'll talk to you soon.